welcome to part 5, I believe this is, of the Power Creep TV Dark Souls co-op playthrough. I'm Linksclone, and Timmy, you're still here, aren't you? You're here, right? You're here?
Yeah, I'm just lingering around.
Now today, it's a bit of a different episode. There's not going to be too much co-op today, so we're doing a bit of side questing, and sadly, the two areas we'll be going to, sadly we can't do summoning, but Timmy will still be here for the ride.
Well, I think you can do the Hydra in co-op if you haven't killed Moonlight Butterfly. Well, we just rushed on ahead and did that anyway, so...
But first things first, actually, we're going to upgrade our weapon because, while we were down in the depths, we picked on something by the name of the Large Ember. So we're actually going to head back to Peter Andre, give him that Ember, and get ourselves a nice... Actually, can we upgrade our weapon? No, we don't have Green Titanite. So, actually, we won't be upgrading our weapon, silly me, because I just remembered this weapon will be not made into a standard path. It's going to be going the Divine Path, and we don't have any Green Titanite, but we will fix that very shortly once we go down to Blighttown.
How much scaling did you say Lucien will get when it's like +5 occult?
But it's a B scaling or an A scaling, one of the two.
That's decent.
Yeah, it's an A scaling in Faith, and since I'll be getting Faith to 40, it's actually a very nice thing. So what we're going to do is actually screw it up completely and not roll correctly. So what we're going to do is actually head back to Asylum. So we're going to start off where the adventure began, and pick ourselves up some nice items while we're there, including something I really like to have for Blighttown, the Rusted Iron Ring.
That just basically allows you to walk through any sort of thick medium like water or mud without being slowed down.
But first, before that, before you go to the Asylum, this is the key you need to get the Rusted Iron Ring back at Asylum on this roof here. Do not miss it, otherwise you cannot get the key. Yeah, that is... I've forgotten that before in the past when having gone there and I had to go all the way back, and that is something to do.
I know, like, I've done that as well, but, like, I just kind of thought, I'm going to the Asylum, I might pick up the Rusted Iron Ring as well while I get there. And then 5 minutes later, once I actually get there, I forget all about it, go through the entire thing, I'm like, I forgot something, didn't I?
Yep, that key. Also, yeah, but we'll be actually taking on a optional boss at Asylum. It shouldn't take too long with my Lucerne as well as my Lightning Spears. So we're going to do that as well as the Hydra. Those are the two things we'll be clearing up today. And then the next episode we'll finally head down to Blighttown and face the horrible toxic stench.
Yeah, Blighttown's a bit of a nasty place. And in the Asylum, there's a boss which is pretty much an exact copy of a boss that we'll end up going through later on, so... Good job, Dark Souls.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Diverse boss. It looks just like the Undead Asylum demon as well. Like all three of them, except one of them's like on fire.
Yeah, the Demon Fire Sage we'll be meeting later on in the Demon Ruins, while this one's just called the Stray Demon. And essentially it's just, so basically, the floor that we fought the original boss on, if we step into the middle, it will actually crumble beneath our feet and we'll fight the boss, but currently we do not want to do that. We're gonna pick up the ring, pick up a few items, and then we'll take on the boss.
There's actually a way to make the floor crumble without you falling into it, and then you can just stand at the top, shooting like poison arrows at the boss, and he'll eventually die.
Also, do be careful when coming back to Asylum. The enemies have completely changed, like this Black Knight over here. This just definitely was not here the first time on your adventure.
Can you imagine if like if he was there on the first time?
Oh, that would suck, especially as deprived.
You would never leave.
No, you actually wouldn't. Well, you could. It's doable. It'd be a masochist dream to try and do it.
Welcome to Dark Souls.
Well, actually, I find him very easy to parry. Like, his swing actually takes a while. Like, it's just fast enough where it's easy to parry, and I got a shield. So I'm gonna equip that. That's mine now. Oh, I don't have enough strength. I'm 1 strength short.
I've said in the past that like the Black Knights and Silver Knights are really easy to parry, just because they're very consistent on their swing. Whereas, like, you try and parry a holo, they'll sort of rear their arms back up for a really long time, and it just psychs you out. It's hard to time it.
And while that's going, we're actually fighting Oscar, the guy who gave us the key at the very beginning, gave us the Restus Flasks, and now he's holo. So, there's Poor guy.
Poor Oscar. Like, he wanted to escape the asylum because there was like a prophecy that someone would come from the asylum on pilgrimage and like become like the Lord or whatever. And because he kind of like fucked himself over by falling through the ceiling and like broke his legs or something, he's just like lost all hope.
There's basically a lot of people speculate basically the asylum, the regular asylum demon actually like threw him over there, like knocked him over there like with his powerful club.
Yeah, because like the original asylum demon that you fought came from above, and so did Oscar. Like you first see him throwing down the corpse at the start, and he's like above you on the roof.
So just also quickly going over, his shield is extremely good for blocking magic damage, one of the best shields in the game for doing that. We'll be picking up another shield later on called the Dragon Crest Shield, which will be used for fire damage, which will also be handy. But this boss, I believe it does magic damage. You may think it does fire damage, but it actually does magic.
Well, the thing's just red. Like, the Demon Fire Sage, you'd expect that to do fire damage, but because it's an exact clone, it's actually magic damage, not fire.
So that's why we've actually equipped this shield, because if you accidentally get caught in the open in front of... you'll see the Stray Demon. If you get caught out in the open in front of him, you're basically dead, so you need to play it very safe. And here is where you get the Rusted Iron Ring. You couldn't get it on your first time here, but now we have picked it up, and we can actually take on the Stray Demon.
I was fine. Yeah. I used, like, when first time I went to the Stray Demon, I had a lot of trouble, but then I realized, like, you just have to stay behind him.
Yeah, that's basically that. Highly recommend making sure you're below 25% equip load. Makes it a lot easier. So actually, we're going to put one more point into strength, simply so we can actually wield the Black Knight shield. And then from the rest of this adventure, most of the time we'll actually be leveling up just Vitality and Endurance. We already have 30 Faith, which is basically what I wanted for now. So we can actually get a bit more tanky, a bit more endurance, and we'll be all good to go for the rest of the playthrough. This build is already basically set.
I thought you were going for like a glass cannon sword build and just let me do all the front line.
Yeah, but the thing is I'll be using some things like Wrath of the Gods and all that stuff. But for now I also want to put just a little bit more, because I only have 14 Vitality and 14 Endurance.
99 Faith!
No.
99 Faith!
That's really bad. After 40 you get really bad diminishing returns. And here's the Stray Demon. Hello. And that's his fire attack. That's one of them. So basically, he kind of lunges forward and does a giant, massive sweeping attack.
It's not fire.
Well, magic. And the one where he basically charges into the ground is basically like a ring around him.
It doesn't even look like fire. It's just a red
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
As you can see, I'm just chucking lightning spears because that'll actually do the most damage to him. Because my Lucerne currently doesn't do that much damage. So we're just going to keep doing that, pumping it into him until eventually he's dead. It won't take too long.
He bleeds as well if you have any like bleeding weapons.
If you use the Uchi Katana, basically if you have one of those kind of weapons, that is super... It makes the boss extremely easy. But for me, I'm just throwing lightning spears, it's going very easily.
There's a big change in like bleed effects from Dark Souls 1 to Dark Souls 2. Because like Dark Souls 1, if you bleed, you just lose a large amount of, I think it's percentage health.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's how it works. Depending on the weapon, you lose a certain... Actually, I think it's percentage. You lose a certain percentage depending on the weapon.
And then in Dark Souls 2, I believe your maximum stamina decreases. You move slower, and I think you take a little bit of damage over time.
That actually is an interesting change. Like, there's actually quite a few different changes from DS1 to DS2 that, like, some of them I like and some of them I just really don't like.
What are the ones that you don't like?
Just the major ones I don't like. I don't like adaptability being a stat. I really don't like that as a stat.
I kind of do. Like, it's annoying, but it's also... I don't know. Like, it seems unnecessary, but it also seems fairly straightforward.
I'm trying to think, what did... Like, there's a couple things I don't like about DS2. I'm trying to think, what annoys me?
I really liked how Attunement increased casting speed.
Yeah, that I actually like, because in the original Dark Souls, this one, if you want to increase your casting speed, you actually have to put points into Dex.
Yeah, the difference between, like, if you throw say, like a fireball, the difference between, like, 0 Dex and, like, 45 Dex is, like, maybe a second and a half cast time. Maybe a second or so.
And that's huge, like, especially if you do PvP. I'm not a PvP person, I prefer to do the more PvE kind of stuff. Timmy, you're more of a PvE person, aren't you, as well? You don't really like the PvP side of things.
No, it does make it hard because we're in Australia, and if you get connected with someone who's overseas, because everything's like sort of client-side, anything that happens on each other's screen goes. So if I'm really close to them on their screen, but they're nowhere near me on mine, then they can just hit me forever and I can't do anything about it, and vice versa.
Timmy, sorry to interrupt, we just beat Stray Demon, that's it, we're done.
Took you long enough.
Yeah, so I just picked up a Titanite slab. That will be required for plus 15 Ascension. I might give that to Timmy if he wants to make more than one weapon. If he chooses to come here in his playthrough, he can also get one of them for himself. So he can have 2 plus 15 weapons, which is very nice. And
well, I was going with Smo's hammer, wasn't I?
Oh, if you want to go Smoke's Hammer, that's awesome. But the thing is, if I want a lot of armor or anything like that, I can also use it for that. So that's pretty nice. So this is our final person we need to beat here, actually. And once we're done, we'll be picking up a very special item, which we'll be using later on.
A very peculiar doll.
Alright, don't spoil it. Excuse me, I haven't picked it up yet. I need to kill this man.
Oh no! Spoilers! Not like we're constantly saying the word gargoyles in
I know.
like the first or
I want to
second
bring some
episode.
suspense. No, just ruin it all. No.
Oh no, the suspense! It's a fucking item that, like,
Yes,
that
but it's a
doesn't
very
make
special
much
item.
sense on the first time you see it anyway. It has to be, like, explained.
Yes, we'll actually explain more about it once we do go to the painted world of Ariamis, but this is an item, if you want to go there, you need to pick up.
I don't actually know all that much about the origins of the doll itself.
Well, basically it belonged to Priscilla, which we will meet later on. She's an interesting character. Actually, I'll read over the lore for you right now, so you can also find out.
Go
So,
for it.
there once was an abomination who had no place in this world. She clutched this doll tightly and eventually was drawn into a cold and lonely painted world.
Yeah, that sounds like Priscilla, which is like everybody's waifu.
Again, I have like a pet peeve against her thanks to her stupid dagger.
She just plays hard to get.
You're just playing hard to get. Yep.
You know, Link, sometimes in life, like, you'll learn this. You're only 16, but you'll learn this as you become an adult. You have to kind of put more effort into chasing tail.
Yeah, actually, I think we'll actually put a cut here, and we'll actually meet back right at the Hydra. So we'll meet in Darkroot Basin. And we are back, and Timmy, that was the worst pun I've heard in a long time. Go back and listen to that, because that was just pathetic and awful. That's why I didn't laugh at it at the beginning.
I like how it took you that long, though. I actually had to explain to you about chasing tail. That really proves that you're 16.
No, it's not that. It's just like, it didn't dawn on me at the time, because it just kind of like, because you said it so quickly, and then, oh, you made that kind of a pun. Oh.
Oh, you're that guy, aren't
You're that guy. Usually I'm that guy. That's why I don't expect other people to do it to me.
Your puns are awful, though.
Oh, my puns are truly terrible. So, we are now in Darkroot Basin, the lower part. That's where Havel was. Instead, we're actually going near the Hydra. So, one very important thing to be careful of, crystal golems as well as the Hydra's breath. Otherwise, he is actually an extremely easy thing to kill.
I actually took out the Hydra, I think in my episode 3, the very end.
Yeah, I decided to come back here, just basically just make this episode a bit full. We can't just have to straight him simply because this episode would be too short otherwise. So as soon as you get close enough, you'll stop doing that stupid breath attack. If you want, you can actually bait that breath attack to kill the crystal golems, because they are actually very effective at doing that. So there's actually 2 ways to kill this Hydra. Cut off its head, as well as do spell damage to it. Currently it seems like lightning spears can't reach that far, so I'm just going to do it pretty close. Also, early on that there's a lot of heads, so if you don't have enough poison, enough stability on your shield, you can be... Oh, there's another golem.
I think because the Hydra itself has a universal health bar, but then the heads themselves have kind of like a hidden health bar. If you do enough damage to the heads, then it will decapitate. But if you do like an extra mental... If you do a surplus amount of damage, it carries on over to the general health bar. And that's kind of the same concept that happens in the 4 Kings boss fight. You can actually do enough damage to them to be able to kill off the entire health bar in 3 Kings.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Like, basically, it's called the 3 Kings in the community because you do it within 3 Kings before.
Like, when I fought the Hydra, because I didn't do quite enough damage, I actually ended up killing it by decapitation of all of its heads.
I'm currently killing it by decapitation as well, but I'm throwing lightning spears at the head because the Lucerne just doesn't do that much damage. Luckily, there's only 4 heads remaining.
Can you just, like, chuck lightning spears in the distance and hit the body?
It actually doesn't reach. Like, the range is just a little bit too long for me. Like, I would have to move the Hydra and I can't be bothered to move it. So instead, we're gonna just throw lots and lots of spears at it. And the worst part is when it gets glitched into the wall, like, you kind of have to move it a bit.
I've never seen a glitch into a wall.
Yeah, kind of like the heads kind of get stuck in the wall. Luckily, the lightning spears, it's actually pretty handy to have some sort of ranged spell or ability to hit those heads. Because they can actually sometimes, like, land in the water and make it impossible to hit.
I actually, like, the last head on my one, it went so far away from where I was standing that I couldn't reach in time. So
Yeah,
I just had to.
it does that.
I just had to throw firebombs.
Oh god damn, I was actually about to hit it. So basically, if it does that, just walk across to the other side of the cove and force it to come over. Eventually, the head will be within range where you can hit things. Oh, come on! Literally, like, it's actually hitting the head, but since it's stuck in the wall, it's not counting as a head. So I'm just going to kill the head with the Lucerne. If I can actually hit it, which I can't. I keep seeming to miss, which is just great.
There's only 2 Hydras in this game, isn't there?
There are only 2 Hydras, one in Ash Lake and one here. Okay, come on, stop getting in the wall. Oh, far out.
If you go down to Ash Lake and you don't fight it, and you just run down the path, it will actually, like, leap out of the water like Free Willy.
Yeah, and there we go, that's the last hit on the Hydra head. That's it, we killed the Hydra. So for that, we get a Dragon Scale and the Dusk Crown Ring. So actually, we'll do one final thing before we end this episode off. I'll actually equip the Rusted Iron Ring. This is actually where it's pretty handy to use. Because this is water, and usually you're actually pretty slow while walking on it, but if you have the Rusted Iron Ring, you can just walk normally. We're just going to quickly reset our game, because we need to reset it just to make sure this thing appears.
It will appear.
Yeah, so only after you have beaten the Hydra, there will be something waiting for you behind the Hydra in a little cove.
And you have to go through a loading screen in order to enable it. And the easiest one is just to restart your game, because that counts as a loading screen.
Yep. So, as you can see in this little cove as we're about to hit it, you should be able to see there actually is a gold golem over there. Or crystal golem. So, similar to the ones that we just saw as we went down the basin, except this one is gold, has a bit more health. So, this
And it's bigger.
And it's bigger, yep.
There's actually gold golems in the crystal caves, but because of the hue, they actually look sort of silvery and bluish.
Yeah, that's the
but they're actually gold.
Yeah, the crystal cave actually puts a blue filter onto everything, as you'll see later on once you go do it. I actually do a pitiful amount of damage with Lucerne currently, which is not too surprising actually.
You'd think that Lucerne, like, because it's a strike weapon, yeah?
Yeah, but it's only +5, that's the thing. Until I can actually level it up a bit, for now it's actually do a piss poor amount of damage.
Strike weapons in Dark Souls 1 are shit.
Yeah.
Like, slashing is just too overpowered. But
actually,
then, like, in Dark Souls...
Thrusting. It's all thrusting, man. Because this weapon is actually purely a thrust weapon, and if you combine it with the Lyra Ring, which I might do later on, that's where you get the damage.
Although in Dark Souls 2, Strike is, like, really good, because there's just so many armored enemies.
Speaking of people dropping out from golems and all that stuff, we actually have a person fall from the golem. So let's have a listen to who she
It is
is.
thou who rescueth me. Most gracious, I am deeply obliged. I am Dusk of Ulasil. I cometh from an age long before thine. I cannot stay here for long. So, before I disappear, allow me to ask one thing. My home, Ulasil, is the home of ancient sorceries. My hope is to pass this profound knowledge to thee, with thine approval. Would this be of assistance to thee?
And make sure you say yes, do not hit no, this is the only time. If you screw it up, she disappears forever.
Felt thanks.
Which is not something you really want.
Engrave my signature. If thou art in need, it seems that my time...
So essentially, also if you want to reload the area, you can actually get her armor from behind there in the cove. But for now, we're actually going to resummon her. She's basically, to find her summon sign, you do not need to be human to do this. You can be either hollow or human, and her summon sign will be in Darkroot, just where we versed the Hydra, next to that knight armor I picked up earlier. So what she does, she actually sells non-combat based sorceries.
Yeah, a lot of illusionary and visual sort of sorceries.
One of the more handy ones would actually be repair. So if you are doing an intelligence build, repair allows you to repair the durability of your weapon without having to spend souls at a blacksmith or a repair box. So if you do have that ability, I highly recommend you use it.
You don't really need to do a lot of repairing Dark Souls 1. Like, the durability is pretty solid. Unless you use a weapon which has, like, a special attack that drains durability.
Similar to the Dragon King Great Axe, which I actually did pick up. So there's a summon sign. If you just reload the game, you'll find her straight away. And she'll pop into the world and she'll become a vendor. Also, she has some very interesting lore stuff related to the DLC, which we'll be talking about a lot later on.
It is an honor to...
Just real quick as well, you mentioned her armor. The sort of crown, sort of headpiece, whatever you want to call it, that actually increases all forms of magic damage, I believe.
However, you do need to be careful when using it though, because you do take extra magic damage from wearing it.
Yeah.
So that's the risk. It's the risk versus reward. So this is her different spells. Hidden Weapon is basically useless. It just hides your weapon. Chameleon is a very hilarious one where you basically disguise yourself within the world and blend in for PvP, which is pretty funny. Cast Light's actually fairly useful if you're going into the catacombs, simply because it will give you some extra light. Hidden Body is actually pretty useful if you want to make a run past enemies and just sneak past just NPCs. And that's basically all she sells, as well as the Ulasil Ivory Catalyst. As you can see, not the best scaling. It only requires 12 intelligence to use. It's actually a very handy one if you're not considering doing much of an in-build, but you still want to cast some sorceries.
If thou art in need, I wish may the
Actually, that'll be it for today. So what we did today, we took on the Hydra, we took on the Stray Demon. That'll be all. I'm Linksclone Timmy.
Hello, goodbye.
And that'll be goodbye. Have a lovely day and see you next time when we take on Quelaag and Blighttown.